Simply Stogie's coverage of the 2024 PCA Trade Show is sponsored by My Old Kentucky Herf, May 11th. Call Fat Ass Cigar Lounge at 606-254-0484 to get your tickets.
Hey, welcome to the final day recap of the PCA 24 Trade Show Convention here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Live from the, as Tim walks in front of me, the My Old Kentucky Herf Trade Show bunker. Look, if you haven't got your tickets for the My Old Kentucky Herf, now's the time to do it. They're still on sale right now for the VIP tickets, $200. Look, here's who's going to be there at the My Old Kentucky Herf. This gentleman right here to my far left.
I'm going to be there.
Yeah, Nick Sears.
I will.
LH Cigars is going to be there. Luciano is going to be there. Rick Rodriguez, Fortaleza y Libre. Greg Free will be there. Lure Cigars. A whole ton of people.
Oscar Valadares is rumored to be there.
Yeah.
Noel Rojas is supposed to be there. Bunch of people.
Roa.
Who? Oh, right.
Yeah.
Christian and Roa?
No, no. Who is it? Gusto?
Oh, right. No. JRE.
Yeah, JRE.
Yeah, Gusto.
Gusto's
Yeah.
going to be there, or rumored to be there. I think one of the two.
I think he confirmed.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway,
there's going to be a
out.
lot of people there, guys. It's going to be awesome. I talked to the Aganorsa rep today from that area, and he knew me. And he's like, "Hey, aren't you going to My Old Kentucky?" I'm like, "Yeah." So Aganorsa Leaf will be there, at least represented. There's going to be a lot of people there, guys. It's always a great time. We were talking about it last night. At the Luciano dinner with Dallas and with Luciano.
Who's
And with Paul. It was a good time last night. But yeah, My Old Kentucky Herf. Get your tickets now. Give them a call. Tell Stephen, Dwight, and Tim that Simply Stogie sent you. Look, we're tired. We are beat up. We are. I feel like 100 years old.
I feel a lot better than I did.
Do you?
Yeah.
Did you get a nap in?
You want to go back?
No.
You want to go back?
Nope.
Yeah, that's a good
No, I'm
question.
glad it's over.
Okay.
Glad it's over.
I'm feeling that good.
Yeah.
The
No,
3
you know,
days
it's
of hell.
3 days is enough.
Yeah.
Clearly, not to get right into it, but prior years it was 3.5 days, and then nobody showed up on the half day. Now they made it 3 full days, and like
Still, people didn't show up the last day.
the people were running around the retailers with their suitcases because they were leaving right from the floor by midday.
Yeah.
So most people I heard even just went the 2 days. So now this 3.5 to 4 day show is now 2 days
Ostensibly,
of
it's 2
solid
days.
of
Yeah.
solid business, and the last day for stragglers. There were, I mean, the morning hours. There really wasn't that many people there till about, and I kept saying, maybe by noon people will wake up, show up.
It's funny. I was talking to, I don't know if I want to say the name. I was talking to somebody very influential in the industry today, and,
We've been
and
talking
before,
all day.
not you.
Oh.
Also, Tim's here from Clear the Air. Nobody gives a shit. we were.
Should we take him back up behind the scene again? What do you
Yeah.
think?
Why don't you get the fuck back behind? No, I'm
I'll go
joking.
play
I'm joking.
golf.
No,
You can
we
putt
were.
right there.
We were talking, and he said to me, he goes, "I don't understand why there's not a media day. Why is there not just a day for the media to come in and talk to the retailers, and then you get to talk to everybody. You're not interrupting business." He goes, "To me," he's like, "that just makes sense." But
Even if it was a few hour window where you can schedule everybody you want to, and they get it like a media hour, half it. If they put it into like a 2-3 hour, maybe a little bit more, but
Maybe a little more.
Yeah. All right. So 4 hour day, half a day. If they, I don't know if they really care.
The first year
really
that
don't.
we attended the PCA trade show, we were able to get in an hour early without any issues, and that was 60 minutes.
Let's not go there.
No, I'm not going to compare. I'm just going to say that gave us an hour. We were able to get quite a few uninterrupted interviews where we weren't interrupting business.
Here's the deal. Even
That's all
if
I'm
you
saying.
could get in earlier than you were supposed to get in, or at the time prior to when the retailers are there, the reality is most of the principals didn't
come
show
in
up
till
till
10 or
like 2
11.
minutes or
On
late
day
to their
two
own
day 2
thing.
and day 3.
Yeah,
No,
you
even
look-
day one. Even day one, people were not there
Yeah,
at the opening bell, so to speak.
I look back fondly on that first year with rose-colored glasses as well, Tim. I really do. But I also remember we made appointments for 9 o'clock, and they're like, oh yeah, we'll be there, and then they don't show up till 10.
I remember 2 offenders, but yeah.
Well, I'm not going to call people out. It happens to the best of us. Happens.
Yeah,
to the
no,
best.
I'm just whatever. I
No,
just won't even partake. No, it's okay.
Wow. See, someone's a little. I think he either needs a nap or food.
Column A, column
In-N-Out.
Little column A, little
In-N-Out.
column A.
Negative.
In-N-Out burger,
no,
the
sir.
best.
Yeah, well, let's not go back to the
Let's do
In-N-Out.
a
How many
poll.
days have we
Let's
been
do
here?
let's do a Simply Stogies
When
poll of
50%
In-N-Out burger.
Listen, look, if you're watching this live or you're not watching it live, leave a comment, In-N-Out, yay or nay, because there are.
In-N-Out is not the best fast food
Jesus fucking
burgers
For the money.
for the money.
And when you're
Absolutely.
in Vegas and make it 50%
there is
of your
nothing near. What?
nutrition intake.
I'm with Tim on this. I am not an In-N-Out guy. It's kind of funny. We had an event last night. We were invited to, and so before I looked at the invite, and I'm like, it says drinks and cigars. So I don't know if they're going to feed us. I go, if you guys want to eat, that's fine. We'll stop somewhere. I go, I can wait. And this is like what?
Then I said,
6
I can
o'clock?
wait. And then somebody else said,
somebody said, In-N-Out.
I kind of want to go.
Yeah.
I'm like, In-N-Out? I
Eric.
can always do In-N-Out.
Yeah.
So we did In-N-Out.
So we stopped, and Tim and I did not partake of the In-N-Out. Thankfully, they fed us.
Yeah.
They fed us where we,
did.
and it was absolutely amazing. We're very grateful.
I'm
for
glad
Luciano.
it was In-N-Out and nothing else because I would have felt it was a waste. But for me, having In-N-Out, being from the East Coast where we don't have the
Yeah, it should be a
opportunity
Shake
to
Shack
regularly eat
Shake Shack.
In-N-Out.
So In-N-Out isn't. They don't have it in.
No.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I'll
The
give you
fro-
a couple extra points.
It goes to like right now. I think they have something in Tennessee. Anyway, let's get back to cigars. You're getting me off track.
We're getting Nick off track on the In-N-Out, but we're very grateful for Luciano to invite us into his compound with his team, and we had a good time, and he fed us, and the food was amazing. But yeah, In-N-Out. We've already had that conversation on the podcast several times.
Yeah, we're not doing it anymore. Moving
No,
on.
but Nick's a big fan.
I am.
Randy's a big fan. Eric's a big fan. Look, before we go on, I need to say thank you to Eric Lemire, to Randall Carmichael, to Tim, to Nick, because without these guys, we wouldn't have gotten any content. Because I would have been like, well, this sucks. It's just me. I'm not going to do shit. I would have packed it up and went home. So I'm very grateful for all of them. They did a wonderful job while they were here. So if you see them, give them a pat on the back, because
Or not.
they don't get paid. I mean, none of us do, really.
No, none of us.
No, yeah.
From
So-
this,
Well, yeah, from this. Yeah.
So let's
to
talk
live
about
without
let's
getting
talk
paid.
about day 3 recap. Here's some of the highlights for me. I got to reconnect with Dean Parsons and Alexander Gregg.
I missed that interview. Running around doing B-roll footage, jumping back and forth between the 2 rigs, making sure we have batteries and making a couple issues. Stuff
tech
like
guy.
that. Tech guy.
Yeah, but
did-
more
you
than
did
the
a
tech guy,
job.
you're also the host. And this year, I really wanted to get you in front of the camera, and the only time we were really able to make that happen was yesterday.
I wish I was there to goof on him, though.
I know you were, Nick. You were there in spirit.
Spirit,
though.
okay.
Yeah.
That's
what-
all that counts.
Yeah, that's what counts.
When you were at Cigars for Warriors, did you guys talk about the pronunciation of the Potomac?
We did not. I was trying
any
to
other
get
big
to that
words that
war
we had
story.
problems with?
No. I was trying to get to that war story, but there was another podcast that slid in behind me.
Yeah, not nearly as important as us.
I think I'll just say, yeah, you're right. But I think
sarcasm.
all cigar media is important.
Or not.
Sure.
All is or all is not.
Yeah, sure.
Flip a coin.
All right, so let's
I
talk
don't
about today. Dean Parsons, I got to reconnect with him and talk with him. I hadn't interviewed him in a couple of years for a couple of PCA, so it was nice to talk with him. He's got a ton of stuff going on, coming out, especially with Bronx Tale and Chaz Palminteri, who's doing that.
Did you get?
No,
Chaz on
he
camera?
told me to come back. And here, I'm going to explain to you, the audience, and then also Nick, why not. And I explained this to Dean. I said, I appreciate you saying, come, interview him. We'll get you to the front of the line. His retailers, they deserve to have that FaceTime with Chaz. And he said that, he can make it happen to where we can get a podcast with Chaz
First cigar.
and with Dean. And so I'm okay with that. And honestly, guys, I would rather let that happen and let the retailers and his customers have FaceTime with him instead of taking up that
Well,
time.
I think they should do both because theoretically we are bringing more people
No,
to
and-
the show
and they do.
virtually, so more people have access to him and to the experience of having Chaz Palminteri there. And I did see him, I mean, briefly.
Did you?
Yeah, just walked by. And,
Yeah, and Dean, has a great relationship with him, and they've worked together with Paulie, I believe is his name, to make this cigar happen. And so, it was nice to talk with him. I did try to stop because if you tuned in this morning, if you didn't, go watch. It's pretty funny.
Hilarious.
Hilarious. But if you tuned in this morning, you know that I talked about West Tampa. We were going to go see Chef Rick and Sarah Rodriguez. Unfortunately,
I can't call him Chef Rick.
How many times?
Can we just call him Rick?
How many times did I
Can we
go
just
to
call
their
him
booth?
How many times you tried?
Rick is
Many
Rick.
times.
Rick
Chef
is Rick.
He's never told me he wants to be called Chef Rick, thankfully, because I would laugh.
What
But
if-
Rick's
what
a
if he
great
did
guy,
it-
but
what
I
if
don't
he
know, he's
did it-
trying to reinvent himself as Chef Rick.
If he said he wanted to be called Chef Rick and he was doing a Nick impersonation,
Whether he was or not, I would call him Chef Rick. I don't know if that's a goof, if that's real. I don't know. But I mean, I
That's
don't
how
know.
he-
He's
that's how
been
he-
he's been in the industry for so long. All of a sudden now he's Chef Rick.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think
I
it's-
gotta
I think
ask
it's-
him that. I gotta ask.
I think
him
it's
that.
just having fun.
I think he's
That's-
having fun with it. I've got no
No,
problem with it. Yeah.
listen. He's having fun. He loves the industry. He does what he does. But I'm just curious if that's his new moniker.
Well,
Chef
I
Rick.
think he said it to us on the podcast that he's wanting to wind down his career and give it to his daughter
that's
Sarah.
why she's right there with him.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and she's I was really looking forward to hearing some of her stories because I know she was learning to roll, and she was doing all of those things.
I mean, that's great that she wants to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just.
Absolutely.
cool.
It's a
That's
great
cool.
story. It's a
Yeah.
great story. So unfortunately, we couldn't connect with them. There's a lot of people. Like I went up to Pete Johnson as we were walking out. I apologize. We couldn't get to. He's like, did you? I'm like, dude. Every time I came by, you were busy. I'm not going to bother you when you're busy. And so he's promised to come on the podcast. We'll get Pete Johnson on so that Nick can forget that I'm there instead
No,
of
I was
Tim.
going to say we should just have Tim forget that I'm there. And we're even.
Well, then you'd be even.
Wow.
Why not?
Wow. Okay. All right.
We also we got to speak with Skip Martin
Martin.
from Romacraft. We got to speak with Mike from Pastania. We got to talk with Jonathan Drew. Like no big deal, just 10 minutes with Jonathan Drew, that was a fun thing for me to do. I've never met Jonathan Drew before. Some of these guys in the industry seem kind of like untouchable. They're always busy. They always have an entourage, and you never. For me, I always feel like I'm a time suck on them. But he was very generous with his time. He was a lot of fun to talk with. So I'm very thankful for that. Hopefully, we'll have that out tonight, and you guys can see it. It's about 10 minutes long. We'll put it on YouTube. Probably make a couple reels out of it. So it was really good because I'm a huge fan of Metallica, and they got the Shade to Black coming out, which is the Connecticut shade. As Randy sighs because Randy's a Philistine and doesn't like good music. But those are some of the highlights, and certainly not all of the highlights for today for
Ernesto
me.
Perez Carrillo was
EPC.
really nice to catch up with him. I mean, I've literally known that man since 1992. And I talked about it on the brief little interview I did with him, but I used to drive down there from Boca, where I lived for so long, and go buy my cigars from his shop down in little old Havana, right on Calle Ocho. And he was there. We used to chat all the time. Then he opened up his production, to the Dominican, and then he went big time, sold the company, came back, reinvented
big
himself.
time. He
Yeah,
did
he's
go
always
big
been
time.
big time.
Yeah,
I mean, look,
he's
he was La Gloria Cubana.
Yeah.
He was, and that's the interesting part where the connection with Rick and Ernie, were, I mean, that was, he was the face of the brand. After he sold it, it was Rick's kind of like passed the baton, so to speak.
Yeah.
And that and CAO was Rick. But, I can't believe how busy Ernesto is. I mean, the amount of new things he's got coming out. He's got 2 collabs now. He's got a new one down the pipe that he couldn't talk about yet. But he clearly loves what he does. To be doing it for so many, when you say icons of the industry,
He is.
he's about as iconic as you can get.
He's
at
up
this
there
moment.
now. When you talk about Ernesto Perez Carrillo, he's up there in my mind with guys like Carlito, with George Padron. And for him to do all of these collaborations with other folks, when I talked to Skip at Romacraft, he talked about his collaboration with
Right.
with
Well,
Ernesto.
he's done so many over the years, and he's doing the one with Rick, talking about Rick, again. Yeah, I really do love Ernie, and look at the accolades, the awards that he gets.
Yeah.
He deserves all of them, and he's another very down-to-earth, gracious guy that is all about the tobacco. He loves doing what he does so much. I believe he will do it to his last breath on this earth, and that's a great thing, to love something so much that you just never want to stop.
There's a lot of that in under that roof for these last 3 days. There really is. There's some smoke and mirrors for sure.
Lots of that too.
There are some folks out there that aren't keeping it 100, as the kids say. Is that what they say? Keeping it 100.
I don't know. Who's the youngest guy?
I don't know. I think they say something like, but they're not keeping it real. And it's 100. 350. 350. As the peanut gallery tries to help me out here. But yeah,
we have two viewers.
Yeah, we did. Those are the two
the
right
live
there,
viewers.
right there on the couch. So it's refreshing to have those guys, right? That have a passion.
I think we
like
should
Skip.
record in front of a live studio audience
I
all
know,
the time.
as long as
and as
these
long
two-
as it's Randy.
The two old guys on the Muppets?
Yeah.
That's those two.
Randall.
Yeah.
And what was the other guy's name? I think the one guy's name was Randall.
Was it? Yeah,
Isn't
that makes sense.
Isn't that
makes sense.
convenient?
Yeah, so
Common.
I think it was a really good day overall. We talked to not as many folks as we had the last couple of days. But I think for me the big story is, like you said at the top, is just dropped off. Attendance dropped off in day 3. Like, is there going to come a time where they're going to just make this a 1 to 2 day show?
Well, attendance will show that, and if they do that, it might go to a day and a half, and then why do a trade show at all after that? No, yesterday people were very excited. Most of the people I talked, day 2 was a stronger day, at least for most, than day 1 was. And it was a very strong day 2, so most people were very positive about that.
It's interesting. I was reading an article on Half Wheel from our friend Brooks today in a little bit of the downtime that I had, and it pointed out that you could tell, and this was both days, so this was, I believe it was day 2 that he was referring to specifically, but he would say the beginning of the day is really busy, and then halfway through, it just attendance dropped. And you felt more kind of squeezed in. So it to me, look, I don't think this show overall was as well attended as last year's. I really don't. I'm almost sure the PCA is going to come out and say it was. We had this many badges, this many. But you know what? That's a hard thing to gauge, because how many people came in to want to see one or two?
They didn't scan them in, scan them out. So how do they really know?
This is what we sold. This is what we sold.
They're going to say
How
these
many
are how many
badges total?
registered people were in attendance and who showed up, who didn't. They could tell you who picked up their passes at least, but I don't know. Not that number really is important. It is for us because we want to report it.
Yeah, we want to report it.
But
it's a
for the
story,
retailers,
but-
general feeling was they wrote at least more business than they did last year.
which is a good thing for the industry.
So that's the bottom line,
Yep.
most important thing for the exhibitors. If you do the same amount of business with 10 people and it takes you to do for 15 people, what do you care?
Yeah.
You know
No,
what I mean?
100%.
So it worked
100%.
out. It worked out.
Speaking of thanking people, I really want to publicly thank Brooks Whittington from Half Wheel. That guy took time out of his day a few times over the course of this weekend to come say hi, to help us out. When we talked to Nick Melillo today, We didn't have an appointment. We went in. Nick went right there to the booth first thing, and he's like, you could just see the line of podcasts in line to get an appointment with Nick, and he's like, no, we're not going to get it, right? Because that's what everybody was going to do. And I told Brooks that, and Brooks goes, yeah, no, let's go. And we were in the middle of the show floor, like in the middle, right? And Foundation is all the way at the front. And we march up there, and he goes, you just got to tell Nick. You just got to tell Nick. And I'm like, no, let's not. He's like, no, let's go. And he walks up there, and Nick Melillo was just finishing up. And Brooks goes, hey, how you doing? You know, they shake hands. He's like, James is here. Why don't you do an interview with him real quick? He's like, yeah, well, no, do it now. And Nick looked at me and goes, James, yeah. And so it kind of dawned on him who I was, and we're just not, two chooches walking up. You're a chooch. And we had a great conversation with him. He gave us, again, everyone was so generous with their time when they weren't busy, and they were able to fit us in, and I'm so thankful for that.
Yeah.
And I mentioned this to some folks last night, that sometimes those of us in this industry, and you've been on both sides of it, Nick, we're seen as a burden. We're seen as, well, they're here.
Sometimes.
Not all the time. And so when we're treated like, oh yeah, you're part of the press, you're part of the media, like, come in, let's talk, it's refreshing, it's nice, and I feel eternally grateful for those in the industry that do that share their time and their insight and their knowledge with us, which is why I'm so thankful that Nick's on the program, because you share your time and your insight. Why I'm so thankful that Tim's here, because he has the IT knowledge, and
I get to sit here.
And you get to sit here, and the clear the air is fantastic. It's a secret sauce.
It is the secret sauce.
Yeah.
So, Tim, what were some of your highlights?
We shouldn't do
I know you were
podcasts. We just do the secret sauce,
just
change the name to the secret sauce.
No, that's all right. I think I got enough things going on right now.
We'll do another program. We'll do Clear the Air and the secret sauce. How about that? Let's do another podcast.
Yeah, we'll do the follow-up show to the follow-up show.
Well, we'll talk about the Clear the Air show on the. Okay.
What were some of your highlights from today, Tim?
What I liked about today, and it's probably I like the fact that we could easily roam around. We could easily talk to people. Day 2 was a lot of tripping over tennis shoes. It was like we were just trying to get from point A to point B, one meeting to the next meeting, and we're constantly moving the rigs and trying to navigate the crowd.
We even lost it. We lost a rig today. Rig down.
Yeah. So RIP rig 2.
Yeah, RIP rig 2. The cameraman was a little rough with it.
Yeah, he was an aggressive cameraman.
He was kind of cranky today.
He was. Yeah. He probably needs food. I think we all need food.
I think we all need food and a nap. Don't poke the bear. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and honestly, getting to go inside the Drew Estate booth and getting a little bit of time, that was super cool. I really enjoyed that. I think when you mentioned earlier, kind of some of the people who have a really huge following, right? They're super busy. They got a lot going on. And to be able to get 5-10 minutes of their time can be difficult sometimes.
Absolutely.
And so when we do get that time, it's special to us.
It is.
So that was probably one of the highlights, probably the biggest highlight for today for me.
No, 100%. Nick, what were some of your, besides EPC, did you have any other highlights from today, people you got to talk to? Because I know walking out with you, I remember last year looking at you and saying it was such a trip to watch you interact with all of the people in the industry and all of your friends, because you literally know everyone. And walking out, you were saying goodbye to everybody. They would come up to you, Nick, hey, like.
You hang around long enough, you get to meet a few people. It's nothing special. You'll see. You'll get there, James. Don't worry. A few more years, you're gonna be
that fucking chooch.
But you just being around. But yeah, it was nice seeing people. We did a little interview with Omar Fritas of Fratello Cigars. Did the Altitis, thing. They have a few things coming out. What I like about the highlight for me for that booth or whatever, And again, these booths were fraction of the size of what they used to be. I mean, less than a quarter, I would say. That Altitis USA booth was very nice, but very concise. Same thing with General. That was definitely toned down, size-wise.
Sure.
And everybody, Perdomo, Oliva, they all had much, much smaller, showing that you could get the same amount of work. You don't need the size to really.
You know
to
who
do
had a bigger booth than I remember was Dapper Cigars, and Ian from
No, I think
Dapper.
it was a 10 by 20.
Yeah,
He's had that same backdrop.
From it's definitely bigger than what it was in 2021, 2022, but it may have been the same from last year.
Yeah, I think it was. Same
but it was
from
nice
last
to
year,
sit down with him as well, and yeah.
Yeah, no, it was a good, slow day for us. As
It
far
was.
as, it was like, and then I was thinking, geez, we were running around like a chicken with our head cut off yesterday, trying to get in here. If we had taken that energy that we put into yesterday and came in today, man, we would have gotten a lot of.
We would have killed it.
We would have
Yeah.
So
you
it's
could've-
almost.
If you had the energy from yesterday in
Today?
today,
Oh my
you could have covered
The whole
entire
floor, the whole floor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, yeah. But, that's the other thing. People are here, they're socializing, they're staying out late, they're dragging their feet, getting out of bed and getting on the floor. Because the first 2 days they've done the majority of the business they wanted to do, hit their numbers, their budgets, whatever. And so for them, and I have to agree, it's important to do the social aspect because that's why everybody's in this business. It's great to make money doing what you love to do. I've always been saying that. And part of it is the social aspect, whether you're a retailer, manufacturer, or consumers. Okay, this is not a consumer show, but at least they can vicariously see what's going on through this. I guess that's what people do, but there's enough of us in the media that are doing this, and they get a little of this guy's and a little of ours, and so they can get a feel for what the PCA is all about. And then there's the consumer shows, like the Kentucky Herf and the Big Smoke and all these other things, so they get to meet the people themselves. What's even more of a trip, you talk about Jonathan Drew, nobody's really standing in line to see Jonathan Drew, the retailers here. But if you've ever been to a retail show,
Barn Smoker.
The lines can be crazy for Carlito, these people line up. These are their icons. These are their heroes, the makers of their cigars, and I guess it's a cool feeling.
It is, and people always ask, well, why do you go? Well, because we can, we should. It's a story. There are tons of stories here. It's a chance for us to network, but we get to see these guys typically throughout the year, and then one time a year they're all under one roof.
Yeah.
Consumers don't, and so when consumers get that opportunity to get those tickets to the Big Smoke or the Barn Smokers or wherever, Rocky Mountain Cigar Fest, they get to spend time with these guys, and we get that.
And they're very generous with their time. One thing, Jonathan, I've seen him so many years doing this, and what's really genius of him is he really makes each and every one that goes to see him, feel appreciated.
Yes.
And thanks them for their support and smoking their cigars. And so that makes every smoker, every customer feel important and makes them want to continue to smoke. If you snub somebody, you hear these stories, these celebrities, and people ask them for their autographs. If they're like, I can't be bothered, leave me alone. And I get it. Celebrities don't want to be bothered. In this situation, they know they're being bothered, so it's a little different. Maybe the analogy is not so exact. But the point is, if you have a bad experience with your hero, the guy that you wanted to meet, whatever it is, and he snubs you, you may not be a big fan of him after. So if one of these manufacturers or icons snubs one of these guys, they might lose a customer. So they're aware of that, and they appreciate everybody. And it's a grind. I don't have to worry about it, but Jonathan Drew, to stand there for hours and hours and hours, and the man has an incredible memory. I don't know, he remembers so much details, and that's what the people take away. Oh, I met Jonathan Drew 3 years ago, and I saw him back, and he's asking me about my father and how he's doing, and how did the operation go, And these people are amazed. It's almost like a magician doing a magic show. But that goes a long way. He uses, I don't know, mnemonics or whatever he does to have that incredible, or maybe he just has a naturally incredible memory, but that goes far. And he's not the only one. A lot of people do that. And it you know, the consumers, they know it. That's why they are successful, or as successful as they are.
Absolutely.
It's an amazing thing.
Absolutely. Well,
I real quick before
go
we
ahead.
wrap this up.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you to all the other media that we interacted with. It really made me happy and humble that we've established relationships with other cigar media, and we can talk about the equipment and what we're doing and what we're covering and help each other out in some cases.
Absolutely. Like Brooks.
Yeah.
And you guys got to spend some time with Charlie. I didn't run into Charlie
I ran
today.
into him.
Wish I had.
only kept him for like 2 minutes because I know he's busy. He's super laser focused.
Oh, yeah.
But he did. Randy and I walked into him, and he asked where you were, and I told him you were out.
Schmoozing.
Yeah, like shaking babies and kissing hands and whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I mean, that's just another thing that I really
No,
enjoy about
you know
this
what,
industry.
and that's a good point. You know, our friend Coop, we saw him, got to spend some time with him, just very briefly. Brooks, like I said, it was fantastic. You got to Charlie. How about that cigar?
How about the cigar?
Those guys are just fantastic. I
Cigar
love
Show
Tobacco.
Yeah, Cigar Show Tim. Yeah, just
all
some
great guys.
Just some really good folks in the media that are busting their hump. Probably harder than we are. To bring you content and to get the stories out there for you guys to not only consume but to drop some knowledge on you and kind of give you a kind of a behind the scenes how the sausage is made kind of a thing. So we are very appreciative of that. Thank you, Tim, for bringing that up. I mean, Tim's not wrong. There's a lot of great people in this media industry, and it's been a lot of fun. It really has. It's been a lot of fun. Has it been tiring? Absolutely. Did I almost punch Randy several times? Yes. Did I almost kick him in the nuts several times? Also yes.
Once while he was sleeping.
Did I try to drop all of them at the airport last night? Yes.
That did happen.
Yeah, that did happen. I took a. It's so funny. We're coming back. I take a wrong turn and we're going to the airport. We're going through like terminal 1 pickup or something. Like what the hell?
Oh, I guess we're going to the airport.
Yeah. So it was a good time. It was tiring. It was crazy, but you know what? We had a lot of fun. And now the real work begins, Tim.
Yeah.
For Tim, anyway.
Well, and for myself, Tim and I are going to be going through
James and I have a lot of work to do.
Yes, we will be.
I think we're pretty close to about 300 gig worth of video and audio that we have to go through and separate out and edit and put out. And you have an entire show you have to edit.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I sure do. For you guys at home, that's gonna. I'll get it done by the 1st. 2 days is drive. I've got 6 days.
I think we can.
2 of those are driving. I think we could do it. I think Tim's gonna help me out if I run into some issues. We'll make it work because there's a lot of great stuff that these manufacturers want you to know, and not all of it is about cigars.
Yeah.
What is it about?
It's about cigars. Look, I also want to thank real quick before I get out of here. I want to thank Dwight. I want to thank Steven. I want to thank Tim. I want to thank Fat Ash in Ashland, Kentucky for sponsoring this. Mild Kentucky Herf, May 11th. Go get your tickets, guys. That's the last you'll hear of it from the live. But they're great people. I am very appreciative of their support and supporting us to come here and be able to bring this to you. Sometimes live. Sometimes live.
Hey, I appreciate all the feedback that we got with issues.
And I know there's been technical issues.
Sometimes we know it's there, sometimes we don't. So when you reach out to us and say, "Hey, you screwed up, a-hole," I actually do appreciate it because then I know it's something we have to fix.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks to all of our supporters as well, our LE Club members. Without your support, financial support, it would have been much harder to get here. So I'm very appreciative of you and everything that you guys do for us. Look for the After Dark, the first Friday in, what's the next month? April?
October?
I don't even know where we're at. I think it's April. First Friday in April, 8 o'clock Central. Jump on. Tim will send that link out. But you know what, guys? It's been a great show. I can't wait for you guys to see all the content we got for you. Until then.
Hold on. I'm going home.
This is so old school.
Yeah, you know what?
Not a remote. All this tech, and we can't do this remote.
I think at least it'd have like a cable.
Simply Stogie's coverage of the 2024 PCA Trade Show is sponsored by My Old Kentucky Herf, May 11th. Call Fat Ass Cigar Lounge at 606-254-0484 to get your tickets.